Now, quickly let us continue in our journey with the MCQs of basic course in biomedical research. This is the 7th chapter, experimental study designs. We'll start with the first question. One of the cornerstones of the randomized control trials is what? The options they gave are A, recruitment, B, randomization, C, blinding, or D, placebo. Once again, one of the cornerstones of the RCT, randomized controlled trials is what? So the answer for this question is B, randomization. Then let us see the next question. Randomized control trials or randomized clinical trials can be best described as A, experimental studies, B, analytical studies, C, descriptive studies, or D, observational studies. The answer is A, experimental studies. Now, how do you get to a conclusion that randomized clinical trials are best described as experimental studies? See this flowchart over here. This flowchart is regarding the epidemiological studies. To start with, did the investigator assign any exposures? If it is yes, then the type of study will be an experimental study. If it is no, then it is an observational study. We will continue further. Among the experimental studies, if there is any random allocation, then it goes in favor of the randomized control trial. If there is no random allocation, then it goes into non-randomized control trial. So in our question, randomized control trials we took as that they are experimental studies because randomized control trials come under experimental study where there is random allocation. So this is our answer for our question. Now let us complete the whole chart. As we have spoken that in the experimental studies, if there is any random allocation, then it is randomized control trial. If there is no random allocation, then it is non-randomized control trial. On the other side, apart from experimental study, you have the observational study. Why it is called observational study? Because there is no exposure from the investigator. So in the observational studies, you have a comparison group. If a comparison group is present, then it is called as analytical study. If there is no comparison group, then it is called as descriptive study. Okay. Then under the analytical studies can go into three directions. It can be a cohort study or a case control study or an analytical type of cross-sectional study. The cross-sectional study mentioned over here is the analytical type. Please remember this point. I am specifically telling you it as an analytical type of cross-sectional study because there is another entity called as descriptive type of cross-sectional study. Okay, there is another entity called as descriptive cross-sectional study. So to complete our chart over here, this analytical study has got three directions. If the study goes from exposure to outcome, then it is called as cohort study, and if it goes the other way, that is from outcome to exposure, then it is called as case control study. And both exposure and outcome, if they are measured at the same time, then it is called as a cross-sectional study of the analytical type. Further, you have cohort study can be of prospective type, retrospective type, or you have the hybrid type. Prospective, retrospective, and then hybrid. So this is a big or a broad overview of the different types of epidemiological studies. So we got the answer for our question that the randomized clinical trials are described as a experimental study. Randomized clinical trials comes under the experimental study, this part. Okay. Then next, which of the following is or are true in the clinical trial? The options are A, sample size determination, B, approval from regulatory authority, C, agreement between the investigators and sponsors, or all of the above. So what are true in the clinical trial? Sample size determination is true. Approval from the regulatory authority is required as true. Agreement between the investigators and sponsors are also true. So all of the above statements are true. Next, a pharmacologically inactive agent that investigators administer to participants in the control group of a trial is called as what? A, comparator group, B, placebo, C, conjugate, or D, drug under the investigation. So the answer for this question is Placebo. Placebo is a pharmacologically inactive agent that the investigators administer to the participants in the control group of a trial. Next question. Key methodological components of the RCTs are what? The options are A. Use of a control to which the experimental intervention is compared. B. Random assignment of participants to intervention. C. Taking the informed consent from all the study participants. Or D. All of the above. Let us see the statements again. Use of a control is required to which the experimental intervention is compared. Yes, this is correct. Control is required. Random assignment of participant is required. Yes, even this is correct. Taking informed consent is required. Yes, even this is correct. So all of the above are correct in this question. Okay. Let us see the next question. Double blinding in a clinical trial involves what? The options are A. Participants before and after the study. B. Are participants and the investigators. C. Investigators and analysts. Or D. Participants and analysts. So what is the answer for this question? The answer is both participants and investigators are called as double blinding in a clinical trial. See over here, we have taken this answer. In this information given below, I will draw this small box. We will concentrate on this box over here. Okay. So blinding in clinical trial basically helps in balancing the groups during follow-up. This is one question asked sometime back. Okay, blinding in clinical trials helps in balancing the groups during the follow-up. Now you follow this box. If blinding can be at many levels, if it is at only at the level of the participant, then it is called a single blinding. If it is at the level of both participants and investigators, if both of them are involved, then it is called as double blinding. If participants, investigators and analysts, all three are involved, then it is called as triple blinding. Please remember this point. Participant is single, participant plus investigators are double, participants, investigators and analysts are triple blinding. There is another word called as quadruple blinding. Quadruple blinding, where there will be involvement of participants, investigators, analysts plus caretakers plus caregiving people. Okay, please remember this point. Next question. The purpose of a double blinding in a clinical trial is to. Options are A. Achieve the comparability of all the arms of a clinical trial. Or B. Avoid the observer and participant bias. Or C. Avoid the observer bias and sampling variation. Or D. You have to avoid the bias and avoid the subject bias and sampling variation. What is the purpose of double blinding? The answer is to avoid observer and participant bias. So the option number B is the correct answer in this question. Next question. What is the purpose of randomization in a clinical trial? Options are A. Get better power for data analysis. B. Generalizing the study findings to the population which is not studied. Or C. Achieve balance in the baseline characteristics. Or D. Guarantee that the statistics tests have valid significance levels. So what is the purpose of randomization? Once again you see the options. Is it get better power for data analysis? No. Is it generalizing the study findings to the population which is not studied? No. Is it to achieve the balance in baseline characteristics? Yes, we have to achieve balance in baseline characteristics. And fourth one, guarantee that the statistical tests have valid significance levels? No, there is no guarantee. Okay, there is no guarantee. Please remember this point. Then next, which phase of a clinical trial is referred to as post-marketing surveillance? Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 or phase 4? Which phase of a clinical trial? Post-marketing surveillance is, answer is phase 4. Answer is phase 4. Please, you have to keep this whole chart in mind. These phases in clinical trials and objectives, because one question may be asked from this table. In our question, they have asked us which phase of clinical trial was referred to as the post-marketing surveillance. See over here, it is phase 4. Phase 4 is post-marketing surveillance. We will quickly see what are all the other phases. In phase 1, the objective is to keep safety and acceptability. In phase 2, the objective is to keep long-term safety, dose and schedules, and early indications of efficacy are the objectives in phase 2. Phase 3 is for the effectiveness. Please remember this point. And phase 4 is post-marketing surveillance. This post-marketing surveillance is a question over here. Previously, they have asked regarding phase 3 effectiveness. They have asked regarding phase 2. They have asked regarding phase 1. So, any of the phases can be asked as a question. Please remember, this chart is very, very important, or this table is very, very important. You have to by heart this table at any cost. Next question. See, long-term adverse effects and efficacy of a new drug can be tested in which of the following phases of clinical trial? Once again, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 or phase 4. So what is the answer for this question? See, long-term safety. It is over here. So it is phase 2. So answer for this question is phase 2. Regarding long-term adverse effects and efficacy of a new drug can be tested in phase 2. Next question. Which of the following is incorrect in case of a clinical trial? Incorrect. The options are A. All the clinical trials must be blinded, or B. Randomization is a critically important step in the clinical trial, or C. All the clinical trials must be approved by the institutional ethics committee before initiation, or D. It is mandatory to register the clinical trials with the Clinical Trials Registry of India. So what is incorrect in the case of a clinical trial? Let us see all the options. All the clinical trials must be blinded. Yes, this is the correct statement. Randomization is a critically important step in the clinical trial. Yes, even this is an important clinical step. Then all the clinical trials must be approved by institutional ethics committee before initiation. No, not all. Okay. So what is all is not all. Please remember this point. Then the fourth point, it is mandatory to register the clinical trials with the Clinical Trials Registry of India. Yes, this is correct. So we have got the incorrect statement in this question. Next question. Which of the following procedures ensure safety of the clinical trial participants? The statements what they gave are: first statement is adverse effects reporting. Second statement is serious adverse events reporting. Third step is periodic follow-up. Fourth one is review by the Data Safety Monitoring Board. So, which of the following procedures ensures safety? So, of the 4 steps or of the 4 statements, what is correct or what is true? Okay, now let us see the answers. So, among the options given, all the 4 are correct. Now, let us see. Adverse effects reporting. Yes, you have to report the adverse events, whatever is been happening to the patient or the participant. Second is serious adverse events reporting. Yes, even serious, non-serious, everything you have to report. Third is periodic follow-up. Yes, you have to do periodic follow-up. Then fourth, review by Data Safety Monitoring Board. Yes, it is supposed to be done. So the option number A, where 1, 2, 3, 4 all are correct statements. Next question. All the following correctly describes a clinical trial except. The options are as follows. A. It has all the advantages of a cohort study. B. It is possible to analyze the confounders. C. Loss to follow-up of study participants does not affect the study outcome. Or D. Appropriate implemented informed consent procedure as well as long-term care and support to the trial participants helps to overcome the several ethical concerns. So, of all the following correctly, one is wrong. Let us see the options again. It has all the advantages of a cohort study. Yes, it is a true statement. It is possible to analyze the confounders is also a true statement. Loss to follow-up of a study participants does not affect the study outcome. Actually, it does affect the study outcome. So, therefore, this is the except statement. Then the last statement, appropriate implemented informed consent procedure as well as long-term care and support to trial participants help to overcome several ethical concerns is also a true statement. So we got the answer over here. Next question. Which of the following can be considered as an advantage of a double blinding in a randomized control trial? Which of the following can be considered as a advantage of a double blinding in a RCT? What is the advantage? Chalo, let us see the statements. A. Equally distributes known and unknown confounders in experiment and the control arm. B. It ensures that participants adhere to the protocol. C. It gives benefits of an intervention to some of the study participants. Or D. It prevents bias that arises from the researchers being able to influence the data due to knowledge of the allocated groups. So what is an advantage of a double blinding? Of the options given, option number D, that it prevents bias that arises from researchers being able to influence the data due to knowledge of the allocated groups. Okay. Now let us go to the next question. Biased outcome ascertainment results from. The options are A. Participants reporting symptoms or outcomes differently, or B. Investigators eliciting symptoms or outcomes following a standardized technique, or C. None of the above, or D. Both A and B. So biased outcome ascertainment results from what? It results from option number A, that is participants reporting symptoms or outcomes differently. Now see this question. What is a significant disadvantage of using a single arm trial? So they are asking disadvantage of a single arm trial. Options are A. Lack of randomization, B. High cost of the study, C. Difficulty in measuring the outcomes, or D. Complexity in design. So what is the disadvantage of using a single arm trial? Directly I'll tell you the answer. The answer for this question is option number A, that is lack of randomization. Please remember the question and also the answer, that the disadvantage of using a single arm trial leads to lack of randomization. Next question. Which of the following is not a feature of RCT? Okay. So the options are A. Random assignment, B. Control group, C. Blinding, or D. Observational data collection. See, we have seen random assignment is present, control group is present, blinding is present. Why is it that we have chosen that the observational data collection is not a feature of randomized control trial? For this, let us see this chart over here. This is the basic chart of the epidemiological study classification. From this chart, we easily know, or we know, that the RCT or the randomized control trial are a form of experimental studies. They are categorized into experimental studies. And from the options they have mentioned that which of the following is not a feature of RCT, and they have mentioned option D, that is an observational data collection. Now this observational data collection comes in observational studies. Observational studies like the analytical type of studies, and then you have the descriptive type of studies. See this chart over here. This is observational studies, analytical type, descriptive type. So the randomized control trial, they don't come into the observational study, they come into the experimental study. Therefore, we have taken the option number D as the answer for this question. So I request the students again to get well versed with this chart of epidemiological studies. Please remember this question and also the answer for this question. Next question. Which of the following can eliminate the problem of co-intervention? The options are A. Random sampling, B. Allocation concealment, C. Informed consent, or D. Blinding. So which of the following can eliminate the problem of co-intervention? Answer is D. Blinding. Blinding will eliminate the problem of co-intervention. Please remember this point. See over here. See the box over here. I am drawing a box over here. Now see the information in this box. Blinding helps to eliminate co-intervention and biased outcome ascertainment. These two are the previous questions previously asked. Please remember this point. See in the box. Blinding helps to eliminate co-intervention and blinding helps to eliminate biased outcome ascertainment. Let us see the next question. Which of the following is not true in case of a clinical trial? Again, now what are the options? Clinical trials are planned experiments designed to assess the efficacy of an intervention. Clinical trials usually involve comparing the outcomes in two or more groups of individuals. Clinical trials are usually free from selection bias. Or D, clinical trials are usually prospective in nature. Let us see the options again. Clinical trials are planned experiments designed to assess the efficacy of an intervention. Yes, this is a true statement. Clinical trials usually involve comparing the outcomes in two or more groups. Yes, even this is a true statement. Clinical trials are usually free from selection bias. No, this is not a true statement. Fourth one, clinical trials are usually prospective in nature. Yes, even this is a true statement. So we got the answer for our question. Now see the information given in this chart pertaining to the clinical trials. See the first statement. This has been given as an option in our question, that the clinical trial is a planned experiment designed to assess the efficacy of, all these are the interventions, efficacy of prophylactic, diagnostic, therapeutic agents, devices, regimes, procedures, and etc. which are applied to the human subjects. So all these are nothing but interventions. So this has been mentioned as a first option in our question. Clinical trials are planned experiments designed to assess the efficacy of an intervention, which is a true statement. Now we have to select the not true statement. Now second option, that the clinical trials usually involve comparing the outcomes in two or more groups. So see this information further, that it essentially involves comparing the outcomes in a group of patients treated with a test treatment with those observed in a comparable group. So therefore one group, two groups. So two or more groups are involved. And thirdly, that it is a type of prospective study. So in our options, the second point is also a true statement. And finally, the last option is also a true statement. So therefore, we have got three different true statements. The option number C, that the clinical trials are usually free from selection bias, is a false statement. This is a false statement. So I request the students to get well versed with this chart and the information of this chart. Please remember this question and also the answer. Next question. Which of the following trials assess the effectiveness of a new vaccine? Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3 or Phase 4? Phase 1 trial done in healthy volunteers. Phase 2 trial done in susceptible population. Phase 3 trial done in healthy volunteers. Or Phase 3 trial done in susceptible population. Now see, we know that effectiveness of a new vaccination is done in Phase 3. But here they have given two options on Phase 3. Phase 3 trial done in healthy volunteers and Phase 3 trial done in susceptible population. So what is the option or what is the answer you will take into consideration? We will take option number 4, that is Phase 3 trials done in the susceptible population. Please remember this point. Effectiveness. But it is done in susceptible population. Please remember the point, okay? Next question. Which of the following is not true about a RCT, that is randomized control trial? The options are A. Baseline characteristics of intervention and control groups must be similar. B. Investigator bias can be minimized by double blinding. C. The sample size depends on the hypothesis being tested. Or D. Dropouts should be excluded from the analysis. So which of the following are not true about the RCTs? The answer is that dropouts should be excluded from the analysis is not true about the RCTs, because dropouts will be there in RCTs. The possibilities are there, but they should not be excluded. They should be included, in fact, from the analysis. They should be included. Okay, dropouts should be included. Please remember this point. Next question. State whether true or false. In a RCT randomized control trial, the investigator is unaware of the sequence of allocation of the participants to one of the study arms before and until the assignment is complete. So this process is known as allocation concealment. Is this a true statement or a false statement? Once again, in a RCT, the investigator is unaware of the sequence of allocation of the participants to one of the study arms before and until the assignment is complete. This process is called as allocation concealment. Is it a true or a false statement? It is a true statement. This is actually a definition of allocation concealment. Please remember this point. Allocation concealment, okay? Next question. Which of the following is not a feature of RCT, randomized control trial? The options are A, simple random sampling, B, randomization, C is allocation concealment, or D, blinding. So which is not a feature? We know that blinding is a feature. We just saw allocation concealment is a feature. We know randomization is a feature. Simple random sampling is not a feature. So the answer for our question is over here. Option number A, simple random sampling. Next question. A research group from a medical college in Lucknow conducted a study to assess the efficacy of a new herbal medicine for the prevention of pneumonia in elderly. So what type of RCT is this study? Is it a screening RCT? Is it a diagnostic RCT? Is it therapeutic RCT or a prophylactic RCT? Once again, we will see the question. A research group from a medical college in Lucknow conducted a study to assess the efficacy of a new herbal medicine for the prevention of pneumonia. So you are preventing something. So what is this? How do you prevent this? By prophylactically giving them this medication. So this is a prophylactic RCT. Please remember this point. This is how you have to solve this type of question. Next question. In which type of population is a phase 1 vaccine trial conducted? Options are A, healthy volunteers, B, high risk group, C, diseased population, or D, laboratory animals. In which type of population will you use phase 1 vaccine trial? The answer is A, healthy volunteers. We will take them. We have taken the answer as healthy volunteers. See the chart over here. This chart speaks about the phases in clinical trials and its objectives. In the phase 1, the type of participants in phase 1 are the healthy volunteers. So therefore we have taken this as our answer. In phase 1, healthy volunteers. Whereas the high risk group belong to phase 3. High risk group belong to phase 3. Now see the chart over here. High risk belong to phase 3. Then the other two options, we don't use laboratory animals, and disease population, we do not use disease population for vaccine trial. So therefore, for phase 1 healthy volunteers, and for phase 3 you have the high risk group, but for phase 2 you have the low risk group. So therefore, please remember the participants and the sample size of the participants pertaining to different phases in clinical trials. Next question, state whether true or false. Randomization is a process where the participants have an equal chance of being assigned to any one of the study groups. It is absolutely a true statement. This is the definition of randomization. Okay, you have to please remember this point. It is a process where the participants have an equal chance of being assigned to any one of the study groups. Now see the information given in this chart regarding randomization. See the first point, that the randomization ensures that the participants have an equal chance to be assigned to one of two or more groups. Okay, one of two or more groups. So the participants are having an equal chance. So this is a specialty of randomization. In our question also, they have asked that it is a process where the participants have an equal chance of being assigned to one or more study groups. So therefore, we took the answer as a true statement. Also, one group will get the most widely accepted treatment. The other group will get new treatment being tested. So the second specialty of randomization is that it provides the best way to prove the effectiveness of a new agent or intervention by ensuring these two components. What? That all the groups are as similar as possible. Second and the most important thing is confounders, co-interventions and biases are minimized. So this is the specialty of randomization. So please remember this chart. Next question. Which of the following is not an advantage of RCT? Not an advantage. The options are A, it provides high quality evidence, B, controls for selection and confounding bias, C, establishes the temporality of association, or D, entails minimal ethical issues. So what is not an advantage of RCT? The answer for this question is option number D, that is entails minimal ethical issues is not an advantage of RCT. Whereas provision of a high quality evidence, yes. Controls for selection and confounding bias, yes. establishes the temporality of association. All these are associated with RCT, but not the entailment of minimal ethical issues. Now see this chart over here regarding the advantages and disadvantages of randomized control trials, or also called as RCTs. In our question they have asked which is not an advantage of RCTs. So that means among the 4 options, 3 are advantages and 1 is a disadvantage. Okay, and we have taken the answer that it entails minimal ethical issues. From the chart it is clear that ethical challenges are immense in RCTs. So this has been asked as an option. Also to mention, in other questions they have mentioned or they have asked regarding the complexness and the expensiveness of the RCTs, because it is a disadvantage. Also that it lacks a representativeness. So all these 3 points, point 1, 2 and 3 have been asked as questions. Then let us see the advantages, what we have seen in our options. That it controls, see the option number B, that it controls for selection and confounding bias. It has been mentioned over here. See the first point. Okay, the only effective method known to control the selection bias is RCT. The second point, it is controlling the confounding bias without any adjustment. So these 2 points have been mentioned as a single option in this question. Then let us see the provision of high quality evidence and the establishment of a temporality of association. Both this option number A and option number C belong to cohort studies. Okay, so all the advantages of cohort studies, all the advantages of cohort studies, okay, all the advantages of cohort study imply to the RCTs also. It is mentioned over here. See the 4th point. It maintains the advantages of the cohort studies. Okay, so this is, let this be the 3rd point, that it facilitates effective blinding of some trials is an advantage of RCT, and the 4th point is maintains advantages of cohort studies. Okay, so this is our question, and I request all the students to get well versed with the advantages and disadvantages of RCTs, and please remember the question and also the answer. Now we will go to the next question. What is the main advantage of using a placebo type of control trial? The options are A, it provides a baseline measurement of the outcome. B, it helps to evaluate the efficacy of the intervention against no treatment. C, it reduces the need for randomization. Or D, it eliminates the need for statistical analysis. The answer is B. The main advantage of using a placebo controlled trial is that it helps to evaluate the efficacy of the intervention against no treatment. Next question, state whether true or false. RCTs are retrospective in nature. Is it a true or false statement? It is definitely a false statement, because all the clinical trials are prospective in nature. Please remember this point. Next question, in a clinical trial conducted by Ortho Department of Medical College Bhubaneswar, investigators compare the wound healing time between the conventional suturing technique and stapling technique for open fractures. The investigators, patients and data analysts were aware about the treatment assignment. Who? Investigators, patients and even the analysts. So what best describes this study? It is called as, so what best describes the study design? The answer is that it is a open labeled RCT, because everyone is aware. If you are aware, then it is open labeled RCT. Okay. Next question. Blinding in a RCT addresses which of the following biases? Options are A, ascertainment bias, B, recall bias, C, volunteer bias, or D, attrition bias. Just now we have seen few questions back. We have drawn a box and I have shown into it. So the answer for this question is A, ascertainment bias. Please remember this point. Next question. In an experimental study, what does random assignment help to ensure? The options are A, equal distribution of confounding variables, B, equal access to the study materials, C, high participant retention, or D is accurate outcome measurement. So what does random assignment help to ensure in the experimental study? The answer is that there will be equal distribution of confounding variables. So option number A is correct. Please remember this answer. Next question. In a clinical trial, dash designed to assess the efficacy of prophylactic, diagnostic, therapeutic agents or devices, procedures or regimes etc. applied to the human subjects. So what are the options they gave? A. Pre-planned experiment. B. Planned experiment. C. Primary experiment. Or D. Secondary experiment. So basically they are asking what is a clinical trial. Is it a pre-planned experiment, planned experiment, primary experiment or a secondary experiment? The specific answer is that it is a planned experiment. Please remember this point. A clinical trial is a planned experiment. Next question. The following are the advantages of RCT except. The options are A. It is complex and expensive. B. Controls selection bias. C is that it facilitates the effective blinding. Or D. It controls the confounding bias without adjustments. Let us see the options again. It is complex and expensive. No, it is not complex and not expensive. Does it control the selection bias? Yes, definitely. Does it facilitate the effective blinding? Yes, it does. Then does RCT control confounding bias without adjustment? Yes, it does. So we got the answer over here that the complex and expensive statement of the RCT is a wrong statement. Next question. In a comparable group of patients receiving a controlled treatment, the patients in both the group are enrolled in what? A. Analytical study. B. Prospective study. C. Descriptive study. Or D. Observational study. So basically what are they telling? They are comparing. So in a comparable group. So wherever you are comparing, what is that type of study called as? The answer is that it is a prospective study. A comparable group of patients receiving a controlled treatment. Okay, both the groups are enrolled in prospective study, or basically prospective type of cohort study, more specifically, where you expose and then you see for the outcome. Chalo, next question. In clinical trials, safe acceptability are in which phase? Phase 4, phase 3, phase 2, phase 1. I told you have to by heart all the phases, the chart what we have described previously. Safe acceptability is in phase 1. Please remember this point. Okay. Now see this chart pertaining to the phases in clinical trials and objectives. The trial phases are 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the objectives in each trial phase? What could be the sample size? So most important is our question. So what was our question? In clinical trials, the safe acceptability are in which phase? We have taken the answer as phase 1. And it is mentioned over here. In phase 1, we look about the safety acceptability. You should also know the number of healthy volunteers or the sample size in phase 1. Only up to 50 healthy volunteers can be accepted. Also to mention, there is phase 2. In phase 2, the objectives are regarding the long-term safety, dosing and scheduling, and then early indications of efficacy. And the sample size will be between 100 to 500. In phase 3, the objectives will be regarding the effectiveness of phase. The sample size will be between 1000 and more than 1000. And phase 4 speaks about post-marketing surveillance. And once again, the sample size will be 1000 and more than 1000 based on the community. So most important is the questions. Each and every phase has been asked as a question. Post-marketing surveillance was a question. Effectiveness in phase 3 was a question. Long-term safety was a question. And our question as such that the safety acceptability in phase 1 is itself a question. And they have also asked many times regarding the number of volunteers in each phase. So all the students, I request them to be well versed with the phases, with the objectives and with the sample size. This chart has to be fixed in the brains. Now see this question. In a crossover trial, the participants are what? Let us see the options. Participants are assigned to a treatment group only, or option B, participants switch treatments after a set period, or option number C, that the participants are observed without intervention, or option number D, that the participants are matched based on characteristics. So in a crossover trial, what will happen to the participants? In which trial? In a crossover trial. Okay, so I will tell you the answer directly for this question. In a course of a trial, the participants switch the treatments after a set period of time. So option number B is the correct answer for this question. Once again, I will repeat the sentence that in a crossover trial, participants switch treatments after a set period. So therefore, if this question comes in the examination, blindly you put the answer as switch treatments after a set period. So please students remember this question and also the answer for this question. The next question, what type of study design would be best to evaluate the impact of a new public health policy on a community health? The options are A. RCT, B. B. Cohort study, C is cluster randomized trial, or D. cross-sectional study. So what type of study design is this, which would be best to evaluate the impact of a new public health policy on community health? The answer is C. Cluster randomized trial is the type of study design which would be best to evaluate the impact of a new public health policy on community health. Next question. Dash is a clinical trial that helps in balancing the group. Which dash in a clinical trial helps in balancing group? Options are A. Randomization, B. Allocation, C. Blinding, or D. Double blinding. What is the answer among the four options? The answer is that blinding. So blinding helps in balancing the group. Please remember this point. Next question, state whether true or false. Blinding helps to eliminate the intervention and biased outcome ascertainment. Is it a true statement or a false statement? Yes, it is a true statement. We have seen previously. Next question. Which of the following is wrong about blinding? See the options. Single blinding, investigator. Triple blinding consists of investigator, participant and analyst. Double blinding is investigator and participant. Or quadruple blinding is care provider, investigator, participant and analyst. So which is the wrong combination? So the answer for this is A, single blinding, because in single blinding investigator is a wrong combination. Single blinding is not for investigator, single blinding is for participant. Okay, please remember this point. Rest of the other options are correct. Okay. See the next question. In which phase of clinical trials 1,000 and more number of individuals are participating? 1,000 and more. Oh. So the options are A, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 or phase 4. What is the answer? Answer is, you have to remember that it is phase 3. Phase 3. Just see over here. See in the phase 3, where the objective is to look for the effectiveness and the sample size and participants, it is written over here 1,000 and more. Okay, so you have to remember these numbers also. In phase 1, how much will be the sample size? In phase 2, how much? Phase 3, how much? And phase 4 is how much? Even these can be asked as a question. Then next question. State whether true or false. In a RCT, the investigator is unaware of the sequence of allocation of the participants to one of the study arms before and until the assignment is complete. This process is known as blinding. Is it a true statement or a false statement? This question we have seen before. It is a false statement because the statement what is given over here, it is a definition of allocation concealment. Allocation concealment we have seen previously. Okay, so this is a wrong statement for blinding. Next question. The following are the disadvantages of RCT except. Disadvantages. Okay, so what are the options? A, lack representativeness. B, controls the selection bias. C, immense ethical challenges. Or D, complex and expensive. The following are disadvantages of RCT. All are disadvantages except one, which is an advantage. The advantage is that it controls the selection bias. Please remember this point. RCT will control the selection bias. We have seen previously also. Okay. Now let us have a clear overview regarding the advantages and disadvantages of RCTs, that is the randomized control trials. All the students, please be perfect with the advantages and disadvantages. First we will finish our question. In our question, we have mentioned that the following are the disadvantages of RCT except that it controls the selection bias, because this is an advantage. Controlling of selection bias is an advantage of RCT. Now see in this chart. See, it is mentioned over here, the first point itself, that the only effective method known to control the selection bias is the RCT. Let us see the other points. It controls confounding bias without adjustments, and it facilitates effective binding. Also, it maintains advantages of the cohort studies. So these are the advantages of RCTs. The disadvantages are that it may be complex and expensive. See, it is given as complex and expensive over here. Then secondly, the immense ethical challenges are there. Complex and expensive, immense ethical challenges, and then you have lack of representativeness. All these three are the disadvantages, and all these three have been mentioned in our question. Okay, so this is an option, this is an option, this is an option, and this is a reverse option. So therefore this has been taken as the answer for this question. See this question. What type of study design involves manipulating an independent variable to observe its effect on a dependent variable? Once again, let us read the question carefully. What type of study design is involving manipulating of an independent variable to observe its effect on a dependent variable? So what is the type of study? The options are A, observational study, B, descriptive study, C, experimental study, or D, cross-sectional study. So what are you doing? You are doing a type of experiment by manipulating a variable and you are observing its effect. So what will happen? You may go with the observational study, but that is not the answer for this question. The answer for this question is option number C, that is experimental study. Please don't get confused and carried away by the word or the term observe in the question. So this has been given in this way such that the student should put a wrong answer. So once again I will repeat the question and the answer. What type of study design involves if you are manipulating an independent variable to see its effect on the or to observe its effect on the dependent variable? What are you doing? You are manipulating. So you are doing some sort of experiment. So this is an experimental study. Please remember the question and also the answer. Next question. State whether true or false. RCTs are prospective in nature. Yes, definitely it is a true statement. This is a very simple question. Next question. A new vaccine for the prevention of COVID-19 prevention among children. So what type of RCT is this study? Definitely preventive study. Preventive in the sense it is a prophylactic RCT. Is it a screening? No. Is it diagnostic? No. Is it therapeutic? No. Okay. So it is a prophylactic RCT. Next question. In a clinical trial of an investigational new drug, participants were blinded to their treatment allocation. However, the investigators and data analysts were aware about the treatment allocation. So therefore, this type of RCT would be considered as what? Is it a single blinded, double blinded, or triple blinded? The participants were blinded, so it is a single blinded. To confuse over here, the examiner unnecessarily he wrote investigators and data analysts were aware to confuse the student. Okay, so but they have mentioned participants were blinded, so it is a single blinded is the answer for this question. Next question. State whether true or false. Participants are randomized in a randomized control trial to ensure that the groups are similar apart from the intervention. Is it a true statement or a false statement? It is definitely a true statement. Okay, please remember this point. This is a true statement. Sorry. Next question. In a RCT, overly restrictive exclusive criteria may result in which of the following? The options are A, decreased external validity, B, decreased internal validity, C, problems with recruitment, or D, both the decreased external validity and problems with recruitment. Oh, so in RCT, the overly restrictive exclusion criteria, if you take this, what will happen? It will result in what? It will result in both the external validity decreasing and problems with recruitment. Please remember this point. Next, A pharmacologically inactive agent, once again, that investigators administered to participants in the control group of a RCT is called as what? It is called as a placebo. We have seen previously. Directly, it is a definition of placebo. Then next. External validity of an experiment refers to which of the following? Options are A. Results have been obtained from cross-sectional studies. B. Results are generalizable to the general population. C. Experiments were performed in the laboratory. Or D. Results are replicable. So, external validity of an experiment refers to B. That is, results are generalizable to the general population. Please remember this point. Then last question. In a clinical trial, the study investigators compared a new analgesic with a placebo for the control of pain in arthritis. The investigators and patients were not aware about the treatment assignment. So what best describes this type of study design? Is it a open labeled, single blind, double blind or triple blind? Investigators and patients were not aware. See, only participant is single blind. Participant plus investigator is double blind. Participant plus investigator plus analyst is triple blind. Participant plus investigator plus analyst plus caretaker is quadruple blind. So, what have they told over here? The investigators and patients were not aware of the treatment assignment. Who are not aware? Investigator is not aware and the patient, that is the participants, are unaware. Investigators and the participants were unaware, are not aware about the treatment assignment. So what is this study design? It is a double blinded RCT. Please remember, this is how you have to answer this question. So with this, we complete chapter number 7.